So for the first half an hour, I will be in front of the camera, streaming live to answer all of your questions. And it's an opportune time for you to upload any questions that you do have, whether you have any questions on a project that you're embarking on, or if you want to know about our wonderful portfolio of products that we have designed to protect and beautify your space, or if you've got a colour question, you've come to the right place. So once we finish streaming after half an hour, I will be behind the scenes, sitting in front of the camera, sitting in front of my computer, not the camera, for a further half an hour. And it's a great chance then, if you've got any images that you'd like to share with me. So while I'm streaming, certainly upload any questions that you do have, and I'll do my very best to answer them for you. But if you have images or pictures that you want to share with us, hold off until we finish streaming, because when we're live, unfortunately, you're not actually able to upload any photos. So as I said, fantastic to be here again. We had a couple of weeks break, so it's probably going to take me a little bit of a moment to get back into the groove, but it's great to be here. So tonight we have a few exciting things that I'd like to share with you all. So the first is a giveaway that we have running. So the giveaway goes like this. So for everybody that is watching, if you haven't already done so, visit the Taubmans Australia Facebook page. So you're on it now if you're watching me. Step 2, like our post promoting this week's live colour session, which you'll find pinned to the top. And then step 3, tag 3 friends in the post comment section of our pinned post for an entry into the draw. Now what you'll win is, it's really cool, you'll receive a 1-hour online colour consultation with myself. And then you will receive the following. I'm reading it here so that I make sure I get it all correct. So you'll receive 4 Colorsmith sample pots. So that's where we can create your own colours and make you some wonderful bespoke colours. You'll receive a 1x4 litre drum of our Taubmans Sealing White, a 1x4 litre drum of our Taubmans 3-in-1 Prep, and a 1x4 litre Taubmans water-based enamel. And also, drum roll, you'll get a 1x10 litre Taubmans Endure, which is designed for interior wall application. So it's a really fantastic package. So if you haven't already entered, please do so. Now I've got something highlighted here. So please note, I'm going to read this out. So we will contact you via private message if you are the lucky winner, and ask you to email a specific email address to claim your prize. So look out for a private message to see whether you are the winner of our fantastic giveaway. It's a really good giveaway, and for those that do watch and that have watched previously when I take you through, obviously we talk about colour, but we do talk about our wonderful portfolio of products, and I do talk quite regularly about the products that we are giving away with this giveaway. So there's some fantastic products. I'll tell you, once you use them, you will be in love with them like I am, especially Endure and the water-based enamel. It is top notch. Okay, so tonight is all about exteriors, but don't let that stop you from popping any questions into the feed. You can ask about exterior, you can ask about interior. Fire away, because that's what we're here for. We're here to offer some colour advice and some advice about our products, etc. So I'll keep an eye out for some questions. So not only do we have that giveaway, but we're also, there's another giveaway that we have happening at the moment where we're giving away sample pots of colour. And so I thought I'd bring this to light for those that have joined up and subscribed already. Fantastic. If you haven't, I'm going to take you through and I'm going to show you where you can redeem, or how you can redeem free sample pots. And look, and I'll take you through, because our latest EDM has dropped, which is our Colour Together by Taubmans, and there is some amazing information in there. And also, you know, you'll hear me talking about our wonderful whites. You hear me talking every week, we talk about whites. But we're also talking about some fantastic exterior colours. And also too, I thought tonight I really want to put a little bit of a focus, given that we're talking about exterior, on fences. And I guess that's something that maybe I neglect to talk about, and maybe I should, you know, sort of participate in talking about this a little bit more, because the way you colour up the exterior of your fence, so let's say street side, can give it a lot of street appeal. It can help to frame your property. And then on the inside of your parameter, if you like, that color also plays, it plays a great part in your landscape and what you look at. And we can use color, like if you are, so I'm thinking about my backyard actually. So I've got a beautiful wall, a slimline wall that around our parameters and around our pool. And I've used a gradation of color. So I've got 3 beautiful greens that I created, which I named Relax, Breathe, Repeat. And so we've got and when I say darker, it's not a real dark green. These are quite coastal colors, but we've got a beautiful, so it's almost a bit more of a muted sort of green, deeper green, mid-tone, and then a lighter tone. So there's that gradation of color. So I've used actual color to help create that wonderful aesthetic that I want to create. So it's really important that when you're looking at creating a color palette for the exterior, that you take your fence into consideration, because a dark backdrop can be fantastic if you've got, let's say you've got an older style fence that needs a little bit of love, so you can paint it quite dark and any imperfections can kind of disappear. And then you can use that as a backdrop and plant a lot of greenery, etc. in the front of it, and it can look quite striking. And I think, using color, depending on where you live, and I'll bring my sort of situation into the equation. So we live on the Sunshine Coast, so very coastal. So colors, as I mentioned before, beautiful greens, but also beautiful blues, etc., can create a beautiful backdrop. So I think we need to explore what you can do with your fence a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is, now that I've mentioned how you can get sample pots delivered to your door for free, I'm going to show you how you can do that. And I want to open your eyes up to the information that is available. I know that we only have, I think it might only be maybe 6 more sessions for the year. And then we break and everybody goes away, holidays. It's a great time to get into doing some projects. And so I want to show you where you can find some valuable information, certainly about colour, products, project, and the works. So I'm going to share my screen and hopefully it's going to work. Okay, where are we? Beautiful. And I'll pop myself up in the corner. Wonderful. So beginning the journey, so we're talking at this point about how you can claim yourself some free sample pots. So if you go to our website, which is basically www.taubmans.com.au, and you'll be brought to what you can see on the screen, which is your landing page. So now you'll see on the right-hand side, there is a little thing that says subscribe today to get 4 free sample pots. So obviously T's and C's apply. So if you hit subscribe and you fill out all of your details, you will then receive an email with a code that will allow you to redeem 4 free sample pots delivered to your door, which I think is really fantastic. So I now want to show you, so when you do that, once the EDM arrives, there's quite a few different links within it. And at the moment you'll find there is, where I'm talking about the free sample pots, and they do have a couple of links called Colorbond Light Fence Colors, Colorbond Dark Fence Colors. So when you click on that, this is what is going to appear. So here we go. So this is the Colorbond Fence Color Dark. That's what they're calling it. So there's a collection of Colorbond colors. Now when you're beginning a journey and you're painting your fence, or you're thinking of painting your fence, Colorbond colors can be fantastic to use, and the reason why, and you've probably heard me talk about this before, if not, I'll go through it. So when we create a color scheme, it's really important to not only have the color, say, on the roof, which is primarily what we can use Colorbond colors for, but also to have repetition. So repetition is really important in creating a very cohesive and aesthetically pleasing color scheme. So you know how you'll drive past somebody's house and it's got a lot of street appeal and you're thinking, wow, this looks fantastic. Now I bet if you stood back and you had a really good look, the color wouldn't only just appear once, the color would be used maybe in several applications, that you'd see one color or all the colors used sort of over and over and over again to create that cohesive scheme. And generally using 3, if not 4 colors tends to work really, really well. So this is a great place to start. So you can see here oops, I'm hovering over that and it's bringing it up. I probably won't do that. the dark fence colors, they're calling it. Now, if you scroll down below, you can see here as well, they have what's called a light color collection. I'll click on that. Hopefully it comes up. Yeah. So here's if you're wanting to do the reverse, you're wanting to use some lighter tones for a fence. Here's a collection already put together. Now, as we talk every single week, we mention things around whites. Whites are very much on trend, and everybody's using white in some form of another, whether it be for an external application or whether it be internally. So we do also within these sample pot collections have, oh, let me just have a look here. Maybe I'll go back. We'll go back to dark and maybe it'll bring it up. So down below, it usually does have, oh, yeah, oh, maybe I'm not. I had it up before. It does actually have some whites. So there's some beautiful whites put together, and you can also see below there's some popular colors, some beautiful blues that have sort of a slight green undertone as well. And then there's some wonderful colors that have been put together by Kyle and Kara's Colorsmith creation. So it's worth exploring there. It's worth coming on and having a look, and it's a great place to start because the collections are put together. You can just order, come straight to your door. So that's one thing that we also have going. Now I'm going to also as well, while I'm on here, I wonder whether, we also do have, as I mentioned before, we're talking about fences. There is another thing. So within that EDM again, and I've got all the tabs up here just to make it so much easier. So this is why, if you subscribe to the EDM, you'll be able to just take yourself through all of this because there's some fantastic information. So the next thing as well is within the EDM, it's talking about sunproofing your fence for $200. So this is a great package that's been put together. So it tells you what you need. So there's basically a shopping list. It tells you what you need. And then when you click on download shopping list and how-to guide, let's hope this works. Yes. Here's something we prepared earlier. Here it is here. So it has some popular fence colors, but it also has some tips for you on how to sunproof your fence. So it's giving you everything from your preparation to painting and the work. So it's really good information right at your fingertips. So I'm going to park that for a moment and pop myself back here. Fantastic, that's worked. I do have a question, and then I'll come back and show you what else lives within that EDM that has just gone out. So thank you, Karen, for joining our session. So you're saying, hi, we are looking for advice on what interior paint color to pair with black butt flooring. We were thinking of something neutral and quite light and airy, thanks. Well, I have a coastal black butt that we've just installed in our home, and we used a color called crisp white. So it depends on how white you want it or whether you're wanting a white with a slight little bit of something. So I'm going to just have a look here. So crisp white, as I said, which is our number one white, and it is the most beautiful white. The next color I would recommend as well, thinking about a black butt, I'd keep it quite neutral but still quite light and airy. So we could go, when I talk about neutral, so when you look at whites can be defined or categorized, I guess, in three categories. So you have a white that is a warm white that tends to have more of a, you could dare say, a little bit more of a creamy undertone. Then you have a cooler white, which tends to have a little bit more of a cool, almost blue undertone. And then you have what's defined as neutral. So neutral, I like to describe neutral as having a slight, a little bit of a sort of a green undertone. And when you start working with colors that are very neutral, you'll find that they pair back with many other elements extremely well. And they can work quite well in areas, whether you've got an area that's dimly lit or an area that has a lot of natural light. So crisp white is the first one. The next color I would recommend is a color called Alpine Snow. Alpine Snow is another really good one. It's a little bit more neutral, but it's going to work really, really well with your black butt flooring. And then I'm thinking If you want something that's perhaps a little bit more, sorry, I'm talking and thinking. The other color you could also look at is a color called Tahira White. Now, when I finish streaming, I can certainly pop some links to the colors into the feed, or actually, you know what? I could take you to those colors now. Let me just scroll down to the bottom here, and then I'll swap screens and share with you. Okay, so let me pop that there, pop myself. Okay, so the first color I said that you could have a look at is, oops, crisp white. Here we go. So here is crisp white. You can see that on your screen now. Depending on the pixelations in your screen will depend on what you get to view, because everybody's screen, whether you're looking on a mobile device or from your computer screen, the colors can change. So this is indicative. Looking at that, you'd look at it and go, wow, there's a lot of tint in it. But when you actually look at it here, so crisp white on screen versus crisp white, which is the top color there, there is quite a bit of a difference from what I'm seeing here. So have a look at that for your first one. The next color I would recommend is another color called Alpine Snow. There we go, it's come straight up. Again, another really beautiful, neutral, light white that's going to work really well. And then the last one, which is Tahira White. Again, you can sort of see that just in the corner there. What I do recommend though is, and I'll pop myself back here, when you're looking at color, it's really important to do a couple of things. The first thing is to get yourself a sample pot, and when you go into, say, Bunnings and you buy a sample pot, our paint, when it turns up to store, comes in on a pallet. And in between the pallet, they have what's called pallet liners, so large pieces of cardboard. So what I would recommend you do is go and ask the friendly team if you can have a piece of cardboard. And what you're going to want to do is cut that piece of cardboard so that you have 1 metre by 1 metre square piece of card. Put 3 coats of your colour onto the cardboard. The first coat is going to pretty well aid as an undercoat, and then 2 coats of your top coat. Now here's the thing, there's 2 areas that you want to test it in. So once it's dry, you're going to, here is your wall, here is your floor. So lay your sample piece of cardboard up against your wall so it's touching on the floor. And the reason that you test it there is because things like, as we're mentioning here, your black butt flooring, in certain lights, the colour of your flooring can influence the colour of your wall. And it's not only your flooring colour, but it's also too what else lives within that environment. So I use this analogy all the time. So if you have a red leather lounge, sometimes at certain times of the day, your white walls can have quite a slight sort of pink hue to them. So it's really important to understand how the colour is going to play within its space. Now the other thing is, so here's your wall, here's your ceiling. So you're testing your piece of painted cardboard again, so it's flat up against the wall, but you're wanting it to be as close as it can be to the ceiling. Now look at the colour, looking at it in natural daylight, because that's when you're going to see colour in its true form. But also too, putting on your lighting, so you're going to see how it's going to work and perform in artificial lighting within your space. That way there's no surprises. You're going to know how well the colour's going to work and how it's going to look. So that's what I would recommend. And then of course I'm going to recommend to you to use Taubmans Endure. It is a fantastic product. It's very low VOC. It has inbuilt mold inhibitors, and it also contains what they call NanoGuard technology. So basically you can scrub the paint. It is a brilliant product. So I hope that answers your question, Karen. If you do have any more questions or would like further information, please pop something else into the feed. I'll be very happy to give you some more advice. Thanks. Okay, Cheryl, thank you very much for joining our session. So Cheryl, you're saying it is recommended to use a darker color when you have a small backyard, e.g. 2-bedroom unit, tiny yard. Is it recommended? Sorry. I guess it depends what else you have within that space. So having a darker, if you like, a darker color around your fence line is going to help that. I guess you could say it almost helps it to disappear Sometimes having it white sort of brings it more, how do I say this, makes it more visible, if you like, whereas darker tends to hide it a little bit more. And then having a dark fence or a dark parameter, I think, is fantastic, especially if you want to do a little bit of layering with color. So, you know, it gives you the opportunity to then start to layer some beautiful green plants, etc., and plants that have beautiful colored flowers, etc. So you can really use it as a blank canvas, having that darker backdrop. I hope that helps, Cheryl. I can certainly give you some examples of some wonderful colors to use, but if you want me to offer some suggestions, just let me know sort of what color the facade on your home is, or whether it's brick or what it may be, and then I can start to work out and let you know sort of what darker tones would work really, really well for you. I hope that helps. Okay, so the next thing, so back to my little, what would you like to call it? My little info session on the latest EDM that has gone out. So we've talked about having the sunproof, fantastic paint your fence for $200. Sorry, my mic's just fallen down. That's what happens when you're live. Okay, but the next thing I want to bring to life as well is within the magazine itself. Now I'm just going to get this up first because I've got quite a few other tabs happening here. Okay, so I will share my screen again. Where are we? And pop myself in the corner. Okay, so the EDM has a fantastic, it's our latest Colour Together magazine. It's our spring summer edition. So if you go down to here, and I am going to, and let's hope it all works really, really well. And it may not, it did before. Why is it that when you're live, you just can't get things to go the way you want them to go sometimes? Anyway, on here, I could open it up before. Oh, here we go. That's okay. Just takes me a moment. Okay, so I talked about products. There's some fantastic product information in here. There is also, before I mentioned about having a colour scheme that, you know, is the envy of all your neighbours when we're talking about exterior and also interior as well, but following a few guidelines can really, really help. And before, when I was mentioning about when you're starting to look for colour inspiration to paint your fence, and showing you the sample pot collections that have been put together and the ones that are based around ColourBond colours. And I mentioned that a ColourBond colour is, you know, can be a great place to start, because a lot of roofs obviously are in ColourBond colours, and the secret to having that cohesive, fantastic looking colour scheme is to use repetition. And so that's not just having the colour on the roof, so to speak, it's bringing it down into the facade somewhere else. And also what else can come into play is using what they call the 60-30-10 rule. So, and that primarily or basically is having 60% of one colour, 30% of another, and then 10% of another. So it's all about balance, and balance can help to create a fantastic, wonderful space, be it externally or internally. So in the magazine, as you can see here, there's a bit of a guide. So if you're about to embark on a painting journey, and you're going to use some of that fantastic time that we all have coming up very shortly, being the Christmas holidays, this is a great place to start. This is going to help you understand how colour can be used in an application and achieving that fantastic look. The other things also in here, there's a few colour schemes that have been put together. So if you're going to, and I know I'm veering off from being in talking about exterior colours, but I just think it's worth just to show you this. You've got, bathroom colour schemes, you've got a bedroom colour scheme, a lounge colour scheme, a nursery colour scheme, some beautiful colours there as well, very gender neutral. So it's a great place to start. So I would certainly recommend, and I'll come back on screen, certainly recommend, as I showed you before, subscribing. It opens up a world of fantastic information at your fingertips, and with the opportunity to get yourself some free sample pots, but also to learn about some of our wonderful products, some fantastic projects, and also colour. So, okay, so Cheryl has come back. Thank you, Cheryl. Okay, so you've got a light brick. So a light brick, you can start with a beautiful, if you're wanting to do a darker tone, I can give you a few examples. So you could certainly start with something like Colorbond Monument. Colorbond Monument is a great place to start for quite a dark, if you like, very, very deep grey. I say it's sort of got a bit of a warmer sort of undertone. It's a fantastic colour. You can also too, if you've got a light brick and you want something dark, quite striking, there's some beautiful colours here. Like you've got, and I know there's some beautiful colours here. This one here in particular is called Lava Grey, and even the one below, which is Black Forest. So you can see that it's quite intense, but it still has, there's a little bit of a blue with a blue that sort of sits a little bit more on the greener side, undertone within that. Some of the other beautiful deep dark colours, there is another, I'm just thinking here. Inkwell looks fantastic as well. So you can see that one here. That's a lovely deep charcoal tone, and if you were to put greenery in front of that, it's just going to look very striking. And also too, I really like this colour here as well. So Black Sea is a fantastic colour that you could use for a fence, and even going up one as well, Viking Grey. So it all depends on the tones that you have within your brick, whether you've got sandy tones, red tones, and then something else too, when you're looking at what exists within your space. So looking at a colour wheel is another great place to gain inspiration. So the way the colour wheel works is like when you look at a colour wheel and then you look at the opposite, which is called a complementary colour, they are designed to work together. So for example, if you've got a red, and let me just see if I can find my colour wheel. Yep, here we go. So if you have a, let's just say you've got a red brick. So here is effectively your red brick on some sort of tone. And then if you look at the opposite to red is, is green. It looks, I'm looking at the screen there, I'm not in the right spot. So opposite to red is green. So that gives you an idea of where you can start. So looking at a red brick thinking, okay, I can look at something that's got that sort of green, or if not a bit of a green undertone, knowing that it's going to sit really well with what you've got happening. If you've got more of a yellow toned, or even more of a, let's just say, more of a terracotta going into an orange sort of toned brick, you can go to the opposite of that, which is going to take you to a blue. So picking up a tone that has, or a color that has blue, or a really deep blue, we know is going to work with that. So, and look, color wheels, you can Google a color wheel, they're all available online, but also again, a really good place to start when you're unsure about when you're working with color. So I hope that helps. Tracy, thank you very much for joining us this evening. She's saying, what's the app that helps me redesign my unit? Look, we have an app that's called Colorsmith that can help you create your own wonderful collection of colors. You can take images, so you can walk along the beach, take a photo of a sunset, and you can bring colors out of that photo to life and create them in a paint color, which is fantastic. So I'm not really sure about the app that's going to help you redesign your unit, but it's certainly, if you're wanting to redesign it with color, Colorsmith is the way to go. Okay, Natasha, thank you very much for joining us. So your question is, what's the best white for a dark apartment that receives no sunlight? Being told to go a warm white, but prefer look of a grey undertone white. Okay, so the way whites work, or can work, is when you've got a place that receives a lot of natural light, you tend to go for more of a cooler white. When you have rooms or areas that lack light, we certainly recommend to go for a white that has more of a warmer undertone, because if you're putting something that's too cool in an area that doesn't get a lot of natural light, it can look really, let's say, grey, slightly gloomy. It can be uninviting. So sometimes the secret to that is to look for a white that is quite neutral if you like, but you're wanting something that's quite light. And I'm going to tell you, everyone that watches this is going to know exactly what white I'm about to say. And I'm going to say this for a reason. So we have a color, and I mentioned it before, it's called Taubmans Crisp White. It is our number one white, and it is our number one white because it is just fantastic. What I love about it, so when you start looking at whites can be quite intricate. So they'll all start as a base. So our base starts as brilliant white. And then we, from that base, there's certain formulations to create colors. And that's why some whites are, let's just say, some whites might just have a splash of black, and that can make them to be quite a cool white. And, you know, when they're in an environment, they can start to throw a slight blue undertone, which can make it quite cool. Then you've got whites that when you start looking at the complexity of the formulation, you'll have whites that have a little bit of ochre, a bit of red, perhaps a little bit of black. And sometimes when that's all mixed up, it can give you a wonderful white that can be quite neutral. And then you've got whites that can be warmer, that tend to have a little bit more of a yellow undertone. So, but the crisp white has what is called, it has a particular tint, which is raw umber, and this sounds horrible, but when you look at raw umber, it basically has, the color is a murky sort of brown. But what it does is when it's mixed into our brilliant white, it gives off the most beautiful, soft glow. Now, I have it throughout my house, and I have it on my walls, doors, and trims, and even on my ceiling, but obviously using the correct product that is fit for purpose. So I guess what I'm trying to say to you is, you know, and in some of my space, I'm a try and tester. I like to ensure before I'm going to recommend something that I know how it's going to perform, I know how it's going to work, and, you know, and color can be quite tricky. But crisp white works in most environments. It looks amazing. So I would recommend, Natasha, that you try crisp white. And as I talked about before, getting yourself a large piece of cardboard, a sample pot, testing it within your environment and testing it around in the areas so that you're going to understand how it's going to work within your space. I think it's going to look fantastic. I wouldn't go for something that is too cool because it is going to look, it could look a little bit darker within your space, and it could look very cool, and certainly not, how would I say, certainly not brighten the space up enough. I hope that helps. I'm going to be off camera in a moment, but I'll be behind the computer to answer any further questions. So please, Natasha, if there's something else that I can answer, please pop the questions into the feed. Okay, Cheryl, you're very, very welcome. I'm glad. Look, the colour wheel is very helpful. It is a great place to start. And Tracy, no worries at all. And Therese, yep, it's also my favourite white as well. Fantastic. Well, everybody, that concludes tonight's Taubmans Live Colour Advice session. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Like I said, I'm going to be behind the computer for the next half an hour to answer any further questions. Don't forget about our competition that I mentioned earlier on. It's pinned to the top of our Taubmans Australia Facebook page. And certainly what I'll also do is pop a link into the feed where you can subscribe, get your free sample pots, and get busy painting all of those wonderful fences. Okay, so thanks very much for joining us this week. I look forward to catching up with you all again next week. And until then, everybody, stay safe and happy painting. Bye.